Hey guys, it's Alexander Dahl with Manifest Brutality again. For this video, I have another interview that I did. This one was with another local Minneapolis musician. His name is Dylan, and with that said, I'm going to go ahead and just roll right into the interview. All right, so I'm currently on the phone with Dylan. He's also one of the people that reached out to me about my musician interview project. I'm interested in what he has to say. I've listened to some of his music, and it's really good. It comes from a different style. So I'm going to go ahead and let him introduce himself and then give us a little bit of his background.
My name is Dylan Emelianoff. I am the guitarist and singer of the gypsy punk band Sayu Drum, and we're based out of Minneapolis. It's a six-piece band, uh, that, but we've had over 30 members. I traveled a lot, and some of them came with me, and some of them couldn't. We just released our uh, album, The Gaslight Masquerade, and we're really excited about that. It's going out for digital distribution as we speak. It should be out in iTunes and all that stuff in the next couple of weeks.
That's a cool title. You said Gaslight Masquerade?
Correct.
Yeah, that's very cool. Nice title. So basically, you indicated that you're kind of the front person of this band. It's your creation. Why don't you give me a little bit of details about, how you got into music and kind of how you decided that that was the pathway you wanted your life to take?
Yeah. So I was probably about 14 when I saw listened to my first punk song, and it stole me. And I realized I could probably do that. I could play those chords and figure that out. And I just really like punk. And so I studied it, but I got really good actually, and I kind of graduated from that into more technical stuff, and really started to get an appreciation for the instrument. And I got a lucky break. I had decent teachers who were worried about me, and they helped me along to get into college with a scholarship when I was 17. So I went in a year early and went to music school,
Very
and I
cool.
stayed there for yeah. I had to hold up a pretty high, 2.0 average,
Hmm.
and I was really young and really immature. And but I was in this kind of lousy punk band, and we were playing in New York. This is all in New York,
Sure.
um, and I couldn't stay in the club after our gig. But those guys could because they were all 21 and stuff. But I had to step outside, and I ended up meeting some of the crusty punks because they would hang outside and spare change.
Hmm.
And I wasn't doing that great, and they were leaving. This is about 2 years into college, and they asked me if I wanted to go with them to hop freight trains, and so I did. And I didn't return for about 6 years.
Oh, crazy.
Yeah, I ended up traveling like around the world and stuff, and then uh, I did return, and I hopped on board with this. I had like a black metal band for a while, and then I got on board of this local Minneapolis band called Apocalypse Theater,
I've
and
actually heard of that.
yeah, and I played guitar for them for a couple years, and then one of their singers and me got together and had a child,
Oh, okay.
and around this time I'd been writing a lot of folk songs just for fun,
Hmm.
and people said, "Hey, these are great. You should do more stuff like this, and get away from the metal thing."
Hmm.
And so I just kept on doing it. And at the time, I was really listening to a lot of Eastern European music, and I really liked it a lot. And my roots are from Eastern Europe and stuff. And
Sure.
uh, so I just started having more of that involved in music. And I found a bunch of musicians who wanted to play that kind of music, and I had already had the songs kind of written, and so we did traditional covers, blended in with like Pogue
Hmm.
songs, and became pretty fun.
Right.
One of the bands that you could drink to and dance to and stuff.
Yeah, one of the things that kind of stuck out to me when I was listening to a couple of your songs was how actually like kind of deeply informative is about like our current kind of political state, but at the same time it still has that kind of bounce that you would expect from like an Irish jig sort of thing.
Yeah. We cover both those things. So we're everyone in band is political. And it's not like a requirement or anything like that. It just
Mm-hmm.
happens to be that
Mm-hmm.
way. And I've been involved in civil activism, civil rights, and stuff like that for a very long time.
Sure.
And it's really important issues for us. Um, and there's so many stories out there, just like the Pokes did. I mean, Shane McGowan is a genius, and he told these really heartbreaking stories of the past that had happened that we actually seen repeating again.
Right.
And that was the beauty of a lot of his work was he had so many of these great songs that told these stories of like horrific events that happened that like got lost in history.
Mm-hmm.
And
And now we see them
um,
again.
right, exactly. And it's just like and I'm compelled to write it more than anything. I like
Of
really don't
course.
have I don't sit down like I'm gonna write a political song. Like
Mm-hmm.
that never happens.
Sure.
Um, I just kind of write a lot and then, oh, well, this might sound good, like kind of thing,
Sure.
and that's it.
So you kind of went through a lot of information there. I want to backtrack for a second and go back to the period of time that you were hopping trains. Can you just give a story or two that kind of stand out from that period in your life, and let's hear those?
Sure. There's a giant, great network, and you can meet a lot of great people, and then within that network, they kind of keep you safe.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I hate to say it's a who you know, but it's a who you know,
Sure.
and by knowing these people, you're letting other people know, hey, we're friends and we should be friends, and, so you meet a lot of great people, but you also, there's a lot of crazy people out on the rails too, so you have to, play it safe. But, I've definitely hopped on before and, you know, met up with a couple of CEOs from Wall Street who that's what they did for fun. Like
Oh,
they just
crazy.
took a week off and, and they had like nice gear and stuff like
Sure.
that, and at the same time, a couple of cars down are members of the FTRA, which is the Freight Train Riders of America. And they're
Okay.
really a bunch of like redneck
Sure.
dudes who, just kind of migrate and I don't, they're usually actually robbing the fucking things. But
That's
um,
that's absolutely crazy. I
yeah,
suppose
the people still do that. Yeah.
I never would have suspected that there was like train hopping tourism. That's
Yeah,
crazy.
there is, yeah,
Okay.
and I mean it's a really tiny, tiny scene. And then the a bunch of the like the crusties and the other people who kind of use the train as a network. I mean, like you become friends with them because there's something really amazing about being on this like machine
Mm-hmm.
that is going like 90 miles an hour and it's got like so much power under it, and
Mm-hmm.
you're out in like nowhere. Like
Sure.
you are not near the cities. You get out there and it can get scary. There was one time we uh we had gotten it just stopped. The train stopped. And sometimes they do that to let another train that's going faster pass it. And so it stops and we're there waiting an hour and like an hour goes by and it's like, wow, this is a little long. And but they call them holes. And
Okay.
sometimes you can wait in a hole for a while. But like so 2 hours goes by, it's starting to get dark and we start like walking along the side of the train. This is like in Texas, so it's a
Mm-hmm.
desert and stuff like that. And we're in the middle of nowhere. Like there's no pink sky from the city lights or anywhere.
Sure.
And we're walking along the train, and then we just see flashlights, and we're like, "What?" And then we kind of back up and realize that the engines are gone,
Oh
and they've
shit.
just left the train there. And what they do sometimes is if they have a suspicion that there's a lot of illegal immigrants on the
Mm-hmm.
train, they'll like pull it off into a hole, take the engines off, and then border patrol will come.
Oh shit.
Yep. And so we're like, uh-oh, we are in trouble. And just as we do that, a flashlight hits us, and we're like, uh-oh, and we just run. And we're like running through like uh agricultural land. So the soil was like really silty and
Mm-hmm.
really hard to run through, and we're like tripping every like 5 feet,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just making it impossible to run. But we were looking behind us and noticing like so are they, because like you would just see like the flashlight chasing and then full. And then chasing and then full,
Oh
and I'm like,
man.
well, I'm going to give them a run for their money. And we ended up running and seeing a big tractor, and it was big enough that the three of us were there. There's three of us, and two of us could hide inside of the wheel hubcap, so we could actually climb into the wheel. And the border patrol agents ran past, and then actually looked in the tractor and didn't
Mm-hmm.
see anything. And we waited about an hour and looked around, and it was pitch black by this point.
Sure.
And we just started walking down a road, and I think it was like maybe around 5 a.m. where we finally hit real pavement.
Okay.
And
So
yeah.
that's a pathway of life that I'm mostly ignorant to. Obviously, hopping on the trains and riding them is illegal, but did you necessarily really have anything to fear from border patrol catching you?
Not really. No, they're not really interested, to be honest with you.
Okay.
People have been hopping freight trains for as long as freight trains have been there.
Right, of course.
And I've been nabbed before, and they're just like, "Get out of here, kid."
Right,
You know,
right.
and there are some lines that will press charges.
Mm-hmm.
But like and I've heard of some people like spending like a month in jail or something like that. But like they're really not interested in a bunch of punk rock kids, at
Sure.
all.
They've got bigger fish to fry.
Yep, and
So, so all of those experiences, you said that eventually led you back to New York, where you started kind of focusing more on the music ambitions.
mhm.
So that kind of led you down the pathway of making the current type of music that you make. How was the process of actually getting your current band members together? I imagine, like any band, you went through a dozen to a couple dozen
Yeah,
bandmates.
yep. And up to this date, I'm still probably friends, like good friends, with 20 or 30 of them.
Mm-hmm.
And like they, stayed for a really long period of time. It was often, it might have been me moving around, or other things picked up. Like they were in multiple bands, and the other band was doing really well. Um, but yeah, it's a really important part. And really, it was just knowing a few people who introduced me to people who were like, "Hey, you'd like this that he's doing, and blah blah, and you two should hang out."
Okay.
And that, where we got, most of the things, Craigslist eventually.
What were some of like the frayed nerves there where somebody came to audition and you were just like, no, not you?
Beliefs. I've had some people believe. I just didn't. Not just a couple of years back, our violinist was moving to Italy
Okay.
to teach violin, and so we needed a new violinist. And I put out an ad in Craigslist, and I had 5 or 6 people wanted to audition, and I would meet them first at a coffee shop, to waste my time, and I would talk about stuff when I'm there, and one of the like guys from BLM shows up and like gives me a hug and stuff like that, and talking,
Mm-hmm.
and I lean over, I'm like, we really support that group. And
Sure.
she's just like, well, I've seen just as many white people get shot by police as black. And I'm like, and the interview's over. you know,
Right.
and yeah.
Sure. So, in my experiences, I've kind of dealt with, the whole spectrum. There's, drug addicts all the way to, like you mentioned,
Yeah.
belief. You said you've been through nearly 30 musicians to fill out your band. How difficult was that actual process to actually get the musicians together? Because I noticed one thing about the videos that I did watch, that you do actually do shows. You are touring with a full band.
Oh, yeah.
Uh, and I can't imagine that was, luck of the draw that all came together.
No, 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 no. I mean, it was, in a lot of cases, so like 4 or 5 of us would stay strong and be the core and do the thing, and more people just kind of got added to it. and because they like what they saw and they felt like they could add to it, So, we would have an accordion, violin, couple of guitars, several backup singers, you know, and that was just playing a lot, playing out a lot.
How did your other band members? So, like, as you just mentioned, there's always the core members, and so there's always some outlying members as well. How did you witness some of those relationships play out?
I always wanted them to feel like they had as much input as they wanted, and it could be in as much a part of it as they wanted to be. So I never restricted anything. I might have laid the foundation down, but a lot of the flavor was their addition to it, and I'm not gonna, I definitely make it so they're a part of the band. It's not just Dylan and everyone else.
Right.
It's
Sure.
and so I've never said like, a lot of times they're in three bands. And there's there's just no time for them to be a full-time member. They can do it when they can.
Sure. So in the whole development process and then where you've come to now, what's one of like the most memorable stories that stands out to you? I know it's hard to go on the spot.
Yeah, it is.
Like that, yeah.
There's so many shows we play. We play with so many amazing bands that we were honored to play with, from the Zyda Punks to the Hell Blinky Sextet to, all these just different, and even just recently, St. George's Folly and Merzak, like really great music. I mean, I just loved it. And, I think playing to like 300 people on a Tuesday night at 11, was really impactful to me, because it was just like, wow, like you all got to go to work in the morning.
So if I were to kind of just maybe put words in your mouth based on, I would extrapolate that the most memorable thing to you has been interacting with the other bands while you're on tour, being able to see them and like the way that they do their show and have that like counterbalance of influence.
Yeah, well, not only influence, so like I wanted to not only did I like them, but like their music that they're. I mean, usually like we know what they sounded like, but then when you see them live and they're like pulling it all off, and then you're just like, holy shit! Like I would have never thought of doing that. I'm gonna use that, and but like and becoming friends with these guys. I said the Zyda Punks. He plays accordion for us now. Juan Kuffner. But they were a huge band, and from New Orleans, a Zydeco punk band, and I was like fucking honored. But then to see him do it live, I was like blown the fuck away. He sings in like 5 languages. The music's incredibly fun, super technical, and so when he hit me up to want to jump in on the band, I was like so like forward, and I was just like honored, big time, and he's a good friend too. But seeing them, and then Hell Blinky Sextet, like I just mentioned, the singer Andrew, he plays guitar and drums.
Oh, nice.
So he plays the drums kind of with his feet, and he slaps it with the rings on his fingers, and he's playing the guitar at the same time, and he's singing. And it's like
wait. He plays drums, sings, and plays guitar at the same time.
At the same time, and he's got a violinist and a stand-up bassist.
So, to explore that concept for a moment, are we talking about like just like hitting the bass drum kind of?
Right. So he's hitting the bass drum, and then he's got another pedal for the snare, and then he's hitting the crashes and the hi-hats with the rings on his fingers as he's strumming, and like he'll just kind of and to put it into like perspective of what you're listening to, it's kind of Tom Waitish, but if you can imagine, like you just got off the pirate ship and you're walking down the alley, and that's the band that's playing in the alley.
Okay.
He's got a top hat on, the long, coat, from like a composer.
Sure.
And, the bassist looks like Uncle Fester. It's great. It's something
Yeah,
so great. And they're a sextet. So they're anywhere from 3 to 6 members.
that sounds like a show on its own.
It is.
I can relate to the drumming and singing thing because I drum, and when I had a live band put together, I was drumming and singing at the same time. But I was definitely not playing guitar. I only started playing guitar maybe like 2 years ago, so I'm not very good. That is absolutely impressive. So where you're at now and the way that you have your band put together, what would be kind of your aspirations for where you want to see that develop?
We were there. We were there in February and in March, the beginning of March. We had, oh boy, so we're not a small band. We were anywhere from 6 to 8 members, and getting all those people. We're not young. We have families, and we're contacting other bands who are kind of the same size. St. George's Folly is a big band, and so we're networking with these guys and trying to book shows, for the summer and then on, and then we're networking with all the clubs and promoters and other bands, and so there's this big mishmash going on, and there are all these dates are coming together. Like, yes, we got it. Okay, can you do that? Yes, you can do that, and lots of things are going on. Meanwhile, a couple labels are looking at us.
Very cool.
And in one fell swoop, it all stopped.
It was the virus, yeah.
Yeah, and it was just like, boom. And it was like all this messaging, me, one of our singers, Krista, working really hard too, and just having it all start to come together, and then just boom, and everything was over. And I actually have not received a single email from anyone since.
Everything's on pause right now. I was doing shows up into a couple months with a friend of mine. I was drumming for him, and we played our last show in March, and then we had another little mini tour scheduled through May and June, canceled.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Same here. Yep. Yeah, we were into like September, with shows. We had like 15 shows, and we played pretty close. I mean, like in March, we had played the Hexagon, which got burned down.
Now it's burned down. Yeah.
Yeah. With Merzak and St. George's Folly, and and then had opening night of the patio at Palmer's, Savage Row Hotbed, and the Black Widows. Lots of fun bands, and to just have it all just freeze like that was just a lot, and then to like really have it come in that like this ain't going on anymore for like a long time. It was devastating for us. I mean,
obviously I can relate on that performance level as well, but that's the exact same thing that kind of put a pause to these like interview things, because I'd prefer to like meet at a coffee shop or do them like in a quiet bar or something and just record it like on my phone, because I can get pretty good audio that way. But I like paused for a few months once the virus hit, and I was just like, well, how the fuck do I do this now?
Yeah.
And so here I am trying to get it going again. Okay, so those were all really great stories, and you definitely have a very relatable philosophy on the way to approach music. What I want to do is I want to give you the opportunity to plug all of your stuff, and then I always like to give the person I'm interviewing the last word. So give me all of your like social media plugs and all that, and then I want to hear what your last word is.
Sure. Well, on Facebook we can be found as Sayudrom, SAIUDROM music. We have a website, www.sayudrom.com. Um, yeah, there's also like a Bandcamp page and other stuff like that. Actually, some of those pages were put up by um, fans. Like I didn't actually do it. Um, and then our album, The Gaslight Masquerade, is available to purchase a CD copy through our website, or you can just go to iTunes and download it. I made it as cheap as I possibly could. You can actually go to our website and download it for free. And it's I'm totally love the lineup on this. The people or the musicians on this album are all super incredible, super incredibly talented. They're great people. Um, Everyone worked really hard. Um, and I believe in it 100%.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and your last word. Like, what is the message that you want to, like, identify with?
Uh, it's a beautiful mess.